Hi, everyone, and thank you guys so much for joining me this evening. My name is Bridget Blosser, and I am a Student Success Advisor here with the Keystone School. Tonight, we're here to talk about digital literacy and safety with the Keystone School and beyond in just your everyday life, and what that means, and how you and your students can become successful and good digital citizens. So, when we talk about digital literacy and safety, the main point under this is digital citizenship. So, we're going to take some time this evening to define the 9 elements of digital citizenship and how these apply to students and to support persons. And then I'm going to provide you guys with some tips on how to stay digitally literate and how to involve your student in these topics. We know it can be difficult, especially with everything changing so rapidly in our environment. So, making sure that you're up to date on the latest information and trends is super important. And making sure that your student has an understanding of why these things are happening and how they're changing is super important, especially with them enjoying an online education. So, the first thing that we're going to talk about are the 9 elements of digital citizenship. So, the first one that we're going to talk about is access. So, as the world has changed, and in today's society, because most everyone has access to technology at any given moment, it has changed how the world works. And this includes at our schools, such as Keystone. This allows more people to be interconnected throughout the world that were unable to do so in previous time periods. And it provides the educational option of online school to students. Uh, it's really cool to be able to see. We have students who are all over the world. We have students from Japan, from the US, in Africa, a little bit of everywhere. So it's super cool to be able to see just how connected students can become. And so we want to make sure that everyone has access to the usefulness of the internet, but also that, you know, making sure that you're a good digital citizen in what you do here. The next one is commerce. So, buying video games or ordering school supplies and buying a snack can all be done without leaving your couch. And this means that your financial information is available throughout the world via the internet. While having the ability to purchase the items electronically is useful for the world economy, it's super important to protect your financial information, which I'm sure all of you guys are more than aware. Uh, but we want to make sure that when you're going online or when your students are looking at making purchases, that you want to do research on the seller to make sure you're using a reputable site. Um, and all of those things just to make sure that your safety is secured when making these purchases online. The third one is etiquette. These are just sort of basic rules that everyone should follow. It's the same as in real life, you know. There are social etiquette norms that we must abide by in order to be good citizens, good people out in the world. And in the same way, it exists online. Sometimes it's called netiquette with those big air quotes. And being a good digital citizen includes some unwritten rules to respect other internet users. This means that you should always hold back your anger and remember that anything you post on the internet will always be there. Even if you delete it, we know that sometimes people take screenshots. So these are just important reminders to be able to, remind your students that everything that they post, even if it's a silly TikTok dance, whether it's a social media post, that somebody could save it, somebody could screenshot it. So when we're making posts, we want to be super cognizant of what we're posting and how it reflects on us. We say that using the golden rule is a great tip to keep in mind at all times when interacting through the web. And then the last one we have on this page is literacy. One part of being a good digital citizen is the responsibility to stay up to date on modern technology, how to properly utilize it, and the rules associated with that technology. Knowing what the latest tech gadget or website is can be great on its own, but if you're using it against the law, there can be consequences, including but not limited to legal repercussions. When exploring a new program or tech gadget, be sure that you are reading the terms and conditions and make sure that you're being a conscious digital citizen. A big one, and one that is available for all students to listen to on their courses is the chat GPT and the discussion of how AI is going to change education. Um, and so it's really important to read up on it, to understand what it is, understand what it's doing, and understanding what position different places are taking on it. Um, and to make sure that you are using it in a healthy and understandable way. Tying into that is law. And this is the responsibility to act lawfully online and follow the rules of intellectual property and copyright laws. Uh, you How this pertains specifically in Keystone is for students is the idea that they must follow the academic integrity in your Keystone courses. Students should also follow the copyright and intellectual property laws online. We know that everybody likes to share a good meme or send an article of something interesting to somebody else or information from other sources. And it's a great thing to be able to do. But when you're in a school setting, making sure that you give credit to those sources of your information and not portray it as your own is super important. And that goes beyond just us at Keystone. Any of you that have done any sort of paper at any level will be sure to remember, all of the plagiarism checks that teachers did and just making sure that everything is properly cited is good to go. And that's good even if it's just your own personal pages. That way, you are citing the people who gave you the information is a great way to do it. And also, it's a great way to make sure that everything is fact checked. The next one we have here are rights and responsibilities. So, this is the freedom and right that anyone has to utilize technology in an accountable manner. With today's digital world, digital rights and responsibilities provide you with the right to digital privacy and freedom of speech, while still maintaining good manners, like we had talked about earlier with etiquette, as well as ensuring safety and security. This includes following rules as outlined by Keystone and any other website that you're going to use. Again, making sure that you're checking terms and conditions, making sure that you're abiding by all of those rules that are set by individual websites for your safety and the safety of others. Health, this is such a big one, and I don't feel like it's talked about enough. Practicing healthy habits while using digital devices. I know I am super guilty of this working in an online school. At Keystone, we always encourage students to take breaks from screens at least once an hour to prevent eye strain, as well as getting up and stretching, making sure your posture is good, to make sure that you're not getting any physical ailments as well. Um, this is something that, again, I'm always quick to remind students of, but often forget myself. And it's super important. Watching how much time you use technology each day, as well as the manner in which you use this technology and how you let it affect your daily life, are great ways to monitor your digital health. Again, having that conversation with your student of how much time are you spending online? Are you getting out? Are you taking walks? Are you taking breaks from the computer? We know that that kind of stress and the way that we're sitting can really affect us. So making sure that students are taking breaks, are stepping away. If printing things out or writing them down is easier, making sure to continue influencing them to do those things is super important. And then finally, we have security, and this is taking precautions to protect yourself and your technology from digital threats and attacks. Again, we hear about this all the time in today's news and just day to day lives. It's quite easy for hackers and cyber attackers to steal anyone's personal information or invade your computer. This is why it's extremely important to provide protections for yourself, like strong passwords that are different for each account, not saving your information to your computer, and not answering spam emails. In addition to this, having your technology plugged into a surge protector and using padded cases to transport your devices can help protect them from destruction due to elements in day to day use. Again, super important to be able to talk about. You always see the like joke posts about how the most common password used is password. So, really making sure to take care of your accounts and making sure that everything is safe and secure. And again, talking to your students about these things. There's always the social media posts that go around in a off way asking for questions that are most often security questions to try to get into your accounts, making sure that they know that those exist and why they shouldn't answer them. And that sort of thing can be super important. And so, with those 9 pieces out of the way, we're going to talk about how you, as a support person, as an adult in this digital world we live in, and how you can stay digitally literate. Um, the primary one is to check your school's technical requirements. This is something that I tell families to do all the time. If you're not sure if something is going to work, head to our website and check the technical requirements. And you can do this for everything you do. I myself am a very avid gamer. So before I purchase a game for my computer, I will check to make sure that the technical requirements are within what my PC can do. And so, if your student is a digital artist and they want to download a new program, making sure that that program is going to run well within your computer constraints. Um, if your student is looking at doing a class that requires you to download specific software, making sure that that software is downloaded and that you understand how it functions before your student starts the class is super important. Again, watching tutorials, looking at background information, knowing what your computer is. And if you're not sure, a great way to be able to do any of these things is to always ask. Our technical support team are really awesome here. So if you're not sure how to do something or do need help, please don't hesitate to reach out. Um, the next one here is to stay updated with news and trends by following relevant publications and social media accounts. I know this sounds a little silly, but it's super important. You know, if you are using Firefox as your primary browser, you want to watch for the most recent updates to Firefox. What were the changes made in the version history? Or, you know, what did they adjust? How did the items change? How did the interface change? And you want to do this with all kinds of programs. These examples I gave here are Microsoft. If your computer is a Windows computer, you should look at Microsoft for updates. Apple, if you're using an Apple product, you want to see when those changes are coming and what those changes are. In the same way, you might want to look at Adobe. Uh, and any other platform or program that you're having on your computer, and even your school, right? To be able to know when you can expect there to be an outage is super important. You know, we're doing maintenance over X weekend. Please be sure to have all of your work saved before X time so that you don't lose anything. And so making sure to stay updated with any news articles that are from those companies, making sure that the information that you're getting is up to date. And again, checking to make sure that there are no announcements on your platforms or to see any upcoming changes so that you can be prepared in advance. And then the last one is to practice using digital tools and platforms in your daily life to improve efficiency and productivity. This is a huge one. So I just want to ask you guys, how many of you use uh, browser extensions, whether through Chrome or Firefox? There are tons of them out there. One that I often recommend to students who really struggle with reading is a screen reader. These are amazing tools that you can use. If you're in Chrome, I can see some of you have. Awesome. Um, but so if you have these tools or want to get them, you can go to the Chrome shop. Again, please be sure of the website that you're using, or you can go to Mozilla and go into the Mozilla browser store, and you'll be able to find free extensions to be able to download to do different things. There are some that will do screen reading where it'll read the words, the text that's on the page. There are some that'll change fonts on the page. So if you have trouble reading, you know, those large boxes of fonts, you can do that. Uh, and so making sure to use those kind of tools, you know, if there are resources that you like for your students to be able to have, like checklists or browser timers and those sorts of things, look into them, see how they work, see if they work for you guys. These are great things to be able to use, even in your personal life. And then, with all of these things said, how can we use these things to help students? And so the first one goes into what I had just said. using digital tools to organize and manage assignments such as online calendars and to-do lists. I know in the SSAs, we are huge on checklists here. I have at least 3 checklists on my desk at any given time. I'm not as big of a fan of digital ones, but if there are things that work for your student, if a digital planner really works for them, finding those resources, finding what works for them is a really great way. And it also helps with accountability. If you have a specific list of things that need done each day, being able to have that list that you guys can, uh, making sure that there is a list that you guys can access is super important. And it gives you a way to ensure that your student is being successful within the courses. Another one is to utilize digital schools to scan tools to scan a document or pages from a textbook to help reduce paper clutter. All of our stuff is online, but I know for some students they like to be able to print out assignments. And if you don't have a scanner, that's totally okay. What you can do instead is there are tons of apps available for phones where you can scan images and turn them into PDF files to submit. And so using those is really great. Or again, an e-reader. I know all of our English courses have tons of books. And so if your student wants to be able to walk away and they know they need to read, um, chapter 4 of The House on Mango Street, and they can download it to an e-reader and then they can walk away. I'm a huge fan of e-readers and reading outside. So being able to walk outside with my e-reader and be able to read for an hour or two to end my night is super fun. And it's something that you can, push your students in the same direction of. And then the last one here is understand how to identify and avoid fake news and online scams. I feel like this is really important, especially with a lot of students today. I know even my generation grew up on the internet. And so there were always so many talks with us, which I'm very grateful for, about online safety, how to be safe on the internet, what to look out for. And things have gotten way more tricky since I was a kid. And so making sure to have these relevant conversations with your student. We talked about earlier when you see those social media posts around with like, uh, give us your fake band name where it's your favorite color and the street you grew up on. We know that those are 2 really common questions that are security questions. So making sure to tell them and to speak to your student about, these things are often baiting you for security question answers. Be sure to be safe and not respond to them. How to identify uh, fake news and online scams, how to verify information, how to go in and double check a source. They get an email saying that they'll get free virtual money for whatever gaming platform that they're on. How they need to look to make sure that that's legitimate before they enter any sort of information into the system. These sorts of things, are very pertinent to have conversations about and to do it pretty frequently. Um, and making sure that you take that time to be able to discuss that with them. And again, all of these things are great things to discuss with your students. I know it can be a little difficult or a little tricky. And again, if you guys have questions or want to talk through it with anyone, we're here. Please don't be afraid to ask questions or ask for more information. The internet is a lot, and trying to understand it all by yourself can sometimes be very difficult. And so we're here to help with some of that, just like in our webinar here today. So I will put up our contact screen here, and then I will close the recording. And then if you guys have any other specific questions, we can go ahead and take them. But thank you guys all so much for attending today. It was awesome to have you guys here with your participation, and I'm so excited for future conversations about this topic. If you do have any questions, please feel free to contact us. Our email address is studentsuccess@keystonehighschool.com, or you can give us a call at 1-844-494-3577. And our website, where you can check out all of the information that we have on digital literacy, digital citizenship, and digital safety, can be found on our blog, which is thekeystoneschool.wordpress.com. Thank you guys so much, and I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your evenings. And again, I look forward to seeing you at our future events here at the Keystone School. And again, please feel free to stick around if you have further questions. I'm just going to turn off the recording here and then we can continue on.